Hi, welcome. It's Paula here from Wicks, and I have just jumped on because I'm going to talk a little bit about grief. There was some interest in how to use Cypress to help clear and release grief that is trapped or stored in the body as an emotion that has been attached to a cycle and a pattern in your life. Sometimes our joy can sit underneath grief, but we don't know how to reconnect into the strength of our joy and draw out from the well of joy for our life. Okay, so I'm just going to be really, really practical, really real, and talk about a few things there. And I will be doing a class in the future, so keep an eye out for that. Follow me on YouTube or in my SoundCloud channel. Watch me on Facebook, and when that comes up, I'll let you know. Okay, so with grief, you actually can have an inherited pattern, which is a cycle of fear, anger, and pain. So they become like a trigger. You can almost see them stepping through, and intuitively you know that something is about to hit. You're waiting for the fuse to be lit, for a bomb to go off. And that can be a reoccurring pattern and theme in families, in marriages, or even personally in your own life, because it's connected to a way that is familiar and you've been used to. So fear, anger, pain trips into the cycle, and the equation lands in grief. And grief has a land, it has a territory. Okay, underneath that can sit sense of being a victim, mood swings, self-talk, love, hate, chatter. I hate this person, but I love this person. This is always happening. Rah-de-rah-de-rah. How am I going to deal with that? And that's trapped into feelings. Okay, and then you can feel stuck, and you can feel trapped, and you can also feel very betrayed. And betrayal is a disappointment, it's a grief, and it's a sorrow. Okay. Now, if you have that pattern and you have managed to marry yourself to somebody who in their family pattern and dynamics, they don't talk, and that's a form of our autism, and it can be grounded and based in trauma and fear and in abuse. So there's a trigger. So they will have very flighty, emotional, wounded response. Wah! And that can be not a fun place. Okay. So they never, in that place, it can be a cycle, it can be a tape, it can be a record, and it can have a whole thought process that is associated with that. This is where we want to get very specific, and this is where the oils help us. So today, I was smelling highest potential before I got on to clear my mind. And I'm connecting in with the highest potential of my choice, that for 2020 and beyond, to say yes to some invitations that are coming to me, believing that I will be fully financed. And part of what I do is the service provides the income to enable me to go where I'm invited, to go and facilitate for those that have no revenue, no currency. That's my giving back, my sowing, my charity deeds and good works. So in the stretch, we want to connect with our highest potential. And the reason I'm talking about this, just pulling out of the vault of my own life, yesterday I was I had some downtime. Yesterday was an admin day for me, and some personal time, which I utilized. And one of my favorite spots is walking along Milford Beach. And I used to live in Milford, oh my gosh, 30 years ago. Whew. And I had prayer walked all around there for 3 decades. Can you imagine? Anyway, so I was choosing what it was that I wanted for my coming year. And, you know, sometimes when you're voicing your choice, everything comes up that you don't want. I don't want to work like a dog. I don't want to be chained to a job for the paycheck, which is like being a factory worker. Check in, check out, check in, check out. Because I appreciate that my time is valuable, and the investment of the energy, the time, the resources, the training, the equipping that has gone into what I do is like, once I had a prophet say to me that it was like I had 2 spiritual PhDs. Okay, so this is pulling it down into the practical. And so I'm like, well, yes, I've been given this job opportunity, but is it really what I wanted? And I had some input from a friend. So that was impressing upon me influentially. But her paradigm was one of poverty, lack, struggle, strife, work 7 days a week, work hard, no right or wrong. Okay, but I was laying the framework of what I wanted, what I was choosing, what I was believing for, what was my highest choice, and what was the sound wave that I was releasing. Okay, so then I shifted and I went to local supermarket in Takapuna, and I was walking around there, beautiful layout, very affluent, not a lot of people. The aisles aren't cluttered. The design flow is excellent. And the day before, I had family day, and my husband and I went and met with his nephew and wife, who had recently had twins, 6-month-old twins, babies. And I got to reconnect and welcome in these babies that I had prayed for and was excited to see. So this was my first meeting with these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful baby girls. And the mother and I were talking about our birth stories. And both of us had had birth stories that were unique and unusual for miracle children, miracle babies. And her pregnancy was a miracle pregnancy as well, because the doctors had said that she may not be able to get pregnant. And how often have we heard that, you know, and all the aunties go, we'll see about that. And anyway, what that happens is 24 hours later, I was in the supermarket. Her and I had been sharing openly, and that was the first time my husband's family, his sister and husband, had heard my birth story, our birth story, regarding our children and the choices that we made, and what that was like and how that was for me, and mother to mother, woman to woman, wife to wife, as first time mothers. We were just sharing and reminiscing. And I was so inspired and in awe by her positivity. And even though she had been on 7 weeks bed rest because there was a risk of premature delivery, she had reframed it. You know, she rested, and there was no drama associated. There was no scarring, there was no story, there was no scaremongering, there was no fear. and she felt fully secure, fully cared for, and it was wonderful. And as she was telling and sharing with me, I could feel my left eye was just leaking, and I'm like, well, this is a bit strange, but I'm remembering, I am joining in with her, and I'm remembering love. I'm remembering all of, the beauty and the complexities of birthing. So here we are, take a step forward 24 hours later, and I am in the supermarket. I've just gone through identifying what I don't want for this year regarding work. And I'm in the supermarket, I'm buying some groceries for my family, and I stopped at the chemist that was connected looking at vitamin C tablets. And there was a dad in there with his 2 children, and he had just returned from overseas. And I was like, talking about Italy, and Italy was connected to my daughter's name, which I had talked about. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, wow, I used to walk and shop in here as a new wife, new mother, with my newborn son. And I was like, oh, and Amy was here. And energetically, she was with me, as a mother, my children, because I had my children consciously. But then suddenly I remembered my mental capacity when she wasn't born yet. And I was like, wow. And then, of course, I remembered the steps and the story and the process. So that is what happens when memories come up to surface. And it's almost like in your biofield, in your field, you can feel tears, but they're not actually leaking from your eyes, but it's an energetic tear. It's a, for some of us, we talk about the spirit and we're feeling it, okay? Those who are very attuned to the Spirit of God, who do a lot of praying for others and intercession, will be connected and know what I'm talking about in that paradigm. So Cyprus is a great way for clearing grief. And this live video is following on from a podcast, a blog that I did on my wall, and people were asking about Cyprus. And forgiveness is another one if there's trapped emotion and you're really struggling. Lots and lots of different aromatherapy principles, techniques. There's raindrop, there is a feelings kit, and also I can help match. That's why it's really, really good when you come in for a session, if you already have an account with Young Living or even doTERRA. I am more than happy to work with you. I wouldn't recommend something that you get over the counter in a chemist. If you're paying $12 for your frankincense, it's not pure grade. It's been synthesized, it's been cut with something. And I got this one to diffuse, and my eyes started burning and watering. So I washed out my diffuser, and like when I use my living oils to support myself, I'm working at a holistic level as part of my sacred practice. And it's part of how I regenerate and nourish and nurture and maintain my wellness. Okay, so as we upscale and release the energy, we clear the drama and we can change the cycle. Those are using our tools. And this is where HeartWorks is so popular and works really, really well. And I really enjoy doing that for you. You don't have to have all this expertise. This is my gift. And when you come, I'm happy to do this for you. And so this is where we learn to coach ourselves and stay healthy and stay fully present. So we're not tripped into a tripwire and into a past time bomb, which then brings a pain cycle in, and you feel it in your gut because grief sits in the gut. And then you have all this chatter, and in your heart you have this, you know, the anger, the withhold. I'm silenced, I can't speak about this. Then you have all the conflict and the dynamics of how do you process this. Are you secure and safe relationally in order to do this? And for women, historically, and it's not just women, but it's patterns learnt as a child where it wasn't safe, repressed, and later on it would surface, which is why people get to a certain age and body memory brings things up, because the body is a recorder, it stores and it has all that knowledge. And when the divine creator touches an area of your life, things surface. And it's the skimming process, okay? And it's always for your betterment, it's always for your good. And we don't want to crash and burn. And sometimes in those pain cycles, they can be addictive. And that's where a whole lot of self-sabotage sits. So what if we could? What if you could fly? And I just want to talk something, because I love scripture. That's my jam. Love, 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 love. So I'm talking about it as a living principle that is energetic in the supply of grace, that is full of light and ease. Okay? And this one is a rebuke cuts into a man of discernment deeper than 100 lashes cuts into a fool. And that's in Proverbs, which is the book of wise sayings that was written by a king named Solomon. And it's chapter 17, and the verse number is 10. So another way, because many different translations and interpretations and languages and dialogue, and which is why it's wonderful to bring it back, and that's why I really enjoy holy words. And it's the essence of life and truth that are connected to them. So that's the supply that I'm drawing from, in grace and ease and full of light, because mercy transforms, and with mercy comes keys, and forgiveness unlocks. Okay, so a rebuke affects a woman of discernment more than 100 lashes of a fool. And it was written in a time where people literally would take lashings on their backs. And sometimes you can have a word lashing, and if there's somebody who has a real rageaholic, or they're, you know, like being ripped apart. Don't know if you can see my wolf, you know, thrown into the wolves, raised by dogs, tearing spirit, full of sarcasm, which tears at the heart and rips the flesh and wounds the soul. And it's a cutting away, and it cuts away intimacy, it cuts away the heart. I have seen this energetically, where it was almost like the person's heart was black and a machete had literally been cutting away at this heart, and there was only a little bit of red left in the center, in the middle. And so that was like a porcupine or an armadillo, had layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of armor, but very wounded, very reactory, very childlike, full of offense, full of blame, full of victimhood, had a big drama game, and had bought into a whole structure, cycle, and energy, and a big old fat story. And sometimes you just gotta divorce the story, get your restitution, get your papers, sign, and marry the truth. Okay. So, effects. I want to give you a couple of examples because sometimes it can be like word spaghetti and we don't really know the word and what it means. So effects is like the dampness begins to affect my health, wealth, and vitality. And it touches the feelings of, moves emotionally. He was visibly affected by the tragedy. And sometimes tragedy, shock, and trauma can attach itself, and it's wet. So like if a ship goes down and you hear about it, or you were on the Titanic, survivor's guilt, and you can be plagued by the effects of that tragedy. And that also connects to upset, trouble, hit hard. I was hit hard by the news of that tragedy. It shocked me and had a place to land. I was overwhelmed by sadness. I was devastated and damaged. So cancel and clear that. And that was connected to Latin and Old French and of influenced, okay, affected. An effect, when you drill down, which is something I love to do, attack as a disease, dis-ease. The dampness began to affect my health. The rebuke affected me more than 100 lashes. It went deep into me, and I need a little help to get it out. Okay, and that's where something can be spoken or projected and put onto you, and that was where grief. I have grief that I have been misunderstood in this situation. I have been judged unfairly, unrighteously. A verdict was made, a ruling. I can feel the arrow of accusation that has landed and attached itself. Spears of betrayal, condemnation, shame, guilt, pressing in upon me, okay, by others. And that can be energetically. It's not all in your head, because people of discernment know. And that's where things can be taken on. Now, the word there was used pretentiously, like I would take on an accent and just said this. And do you think it was rather funny? I don't know. But that can be a make shaft, make believe, make, you know, so those things aren't necessarily part of who you are or your health. It may be a persona, and you do not want to have, because we want to separate out so that things stay out there and they don't land in here. And that's part of discernment. You separate out that which is not yours. Okay, so joy. Joy, 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 joy. With joy is remembrance and love and enjoyment and health and wealth. And for those who like vibrations, it makes you magnetic for good. And joy is the highest frequency for health. Okay, I enjoy my health. I enjoy creating the life I love, and I live it well. There is strength with joy. And I remember the returning of my strength as my faith arises and I learn to hope again and give myself permission to dream. Because sometimes the way we cope with grief is by dialing our life down, and we let our dreams die because another person is dictating. So I bless you with the door of love, and come on in. Let's get moving and just unhook some of that baggage that is connected with grief and sorrow and pain, so that you can come back into fulfillment and enjoy your life. Okay, hope@heartworks.life, and I will be doing some more little podcasts. I will be doing some classes as well, so please forgive me. It's 12:12 here now, New Zealand time, the 21st of January 2020. We are a day ahead. We're the first to see the light, and it is good. Hope that was helpful. And of course, you can join my wellness team, be part of that international global community. I am happy to cross-pollinate and teach and instruct. So I welcome invitations, groups, classes, and if you want one-on-one, private, tailored, sacred services, then book in with me. And obviously I can go into a lot more depth. I can bring rich treasure out of the vault of experience. But I am mindful that these are precious pearls and they are sacred. So God bless.